Welcome back. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau today announced Canada is increasing its global contribution to women's health and education to $1.4 billion annually starting in 2023. Half of that money will go to sexual and reproductive health rights, including abortion. Status of Women Minister Maryam Monsef joins us from the Women Deliver Conference in Vancouver. Minister, $1.4 billion every year is a lot of money. Why is this a priority for your government?
Well, women's rights and gender equality is a priority for our government. And what's happening right now here in Vancouver, Glen, is a really important chapter in Canada's history is being written, and a really important chapter in the story of the women's movement is being written. We're investing in women's sexual rights, health rights, and reproductive rights because the evidence shows that it's a smart investment. It's a good way to create stability in some of the most neglected regions of the world and continue the proud tradition of Canadians doing their part on the international stage.
Yeah, the Prime Minister today referred to other countries withdrawing from supporting sexual health abroad. What exactly did he mean by that?
Look, it's no secret that the winds of populism are blowing and they are coming our way too, Glen. And the debates that have been settled, decades ago around women's rights being human rights and a woman's choice over what she does with her body being hers and hers alone, these debates are being opened up. And Canadians in Canada, we are more interested in focusing on solutions. We are more interested in growing the economy by advancing gender equality. And in the history of the movement that has achieved progress, there was pushback when we got the right to vote. There was pushback when we entered the workforce, and there's pushback as more and more women are entering positions of power and influence. This is Canada's commitment, continuing to ensure that in those places in the world, like with the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh, where choice has been taken away from women, our investments in their dignity and health will restore some of what's been lost and give them some of those choices back.
Women in some parts of this country, particularly rural areas, still have difficulty accessing abortion services in their community. Why not spend the money here instead?
This is not a zero-sum game. This is not an either-or. And since day one, our government's been working to ensure that women in Canada are equal in every way, and part of that is increasing access to abortion services here in Canada in every province and territory, increasing access to Plan B, to mifegai-mizo, reducing some of the restrictions that exist, and we are working with our provincial and territorial counterparts to do that work, to increase access. We have a rural minister and a health minister who are working hand in hand on this, and when it comes to our work in the global community, Glen, Canada comes to this work knowing that we've made a lot of progress over the last 3.5 years, and indeed over decades of feminists and leaders working to this end. But we come to this work with a lot of humility too, knowing that here at home we have work to do, which is why we've also invested in women's organizations. The single largest investment to have ever been made in those women's rights organizations here in Canada has been made by our government, because we believe that when they do well, when women do well, we grow the middle class and we lift a lot of pain and poverty.
We're only a few months away from an election call. Is this, at least in part, an attempt to put a renewed focus on abortion rights in the campaign and possibly force a response from Andrew Scheer? For some of his constituency may not like the government spending money to fund abortions abroad.
I can't tell you how frustrating and how disappointing it is for me as a minister for women and gender equality in Canada to even be having a conversation about abortion rights and the woman's right to choose in Canada. It is frustrating because we should be talking about how to increase the number of women entrepreneurs, how to address gender-based violence, how to ensure that there are more women on corporate boards. This is not our choice, but we will always stand up for a woman's right to choose. And this fall, most certainly, Canadians have a choice to make. Do we move forward and advance the gains that we've made and close the gender wage gap, or do we go back to debates that have been settled decades ago?